Well, it turns out I thought I was live for the last 2.5 hours, but I was just having a phone call with Nikki, I guess, in the backstage. I didn't even want to take the time to write the title. But Armageddon would have been in it. Because that's what I'm here to talk about. Armageddon. I don't know if she can see it or not. Let me just check. See if, oh, there's a 1. There's a 1 in there. Now there's a 3. One of them's got to be Nikki. I just been having a live stream for the last 2.5 hours, I was just saying. And I wasn't having a live stream at all. I was just talking to my friend. So now I'm live. And I'm too lazy to write the title. The title would have Armageddon in it. Because I'm here to talk about Armageddon. I am so thrilled that I am in the actual times of Revelation. I'm actually in the times of Revelation. Maybe one day the Christ will come back. Maybe one day we'll have a perfect Peter Pan party. That's alliteration, you know. We'd have a perfect Peter Pan party. And everybody's supposed to see when Jesus comes back. And if there is one, he's coming. And apparently, this time, it's personal. He's going to be really pissed off. He's going to come in like a lion when he was walking with the lambs. That's what I was thinking of. Nikki, if you're out there. March comes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb, or comes in like a lamb and goes out like a lion. And for me, it's coming in like a lion. And for Nikki on the mountain in New Mexico, where everything's fucking hot, she got 70-degree weather. It's 53 degrees inside my apartment. Not in the VIP room, but the rest of the apartment is a lot harder to heat up with a space heater. So I do have to brave it out there and try and make something to eat because I'm hungry and I ate all the candy. I got pot delivered to me, and my friend went to go get my cigarettes for the month. So I'm all stocked up. I've got food in the cupboards. I've got food in the freezer. I've got food in the fridge. I have everything I need except my loved ones. Which is probably why I'm not jumping for joy. Now it says 0 again. Do I have a live going? What's going on? Am I not live? New. Managing moderators can support your channel and even what? It cuts off there. Introducing managing moderators. It's been that long since I did see my own live stream. These users have the same capabilities as standard moderators, but in addition, they can manage blocked words and change chat modes in live. Well, I don't even know what kind of mode I'm in. Close. I don't want to learn more. Testing. 1, 2, 3. I can see myself. I have the sound down. I do. I have the sound down. Hopefully I'm not echoing. I just can't hear it. So, that's the case. But it doesn't say live beside my name. That's what's so funny. Why doesn't it say live beside my name? Oh, and it picked the thumbnail. Oh well, that's okay. I like the thumbnail. Is that you, Nikki? If it is, just type a period or something. There, I put the live stream down off the desktop. My phone did. Updates. Okay, reveal. All right, I'm here to talk about Armageddon. So let's get off my page. And we will go to Mahmoud OD. Okay. Clearance mattresses. Save up to $1,000 on select appliance packages. Can you hear that? Let's go to his page, see if there's anything recent. No. Video. No. We'll just go with his last live. His first live was pretty good. Nikki! Where are you? It says 0 in it. Right. Oh, why did I do that? Let's do the whole countdown and everything. But first, I got a message. Nikki. Nikki, if you're in the chat, put a decimal point or something. I'm not good at not multitasking. She can listen to me and listen to her family at the same time. So, okay, I'm going to start playing the video, only just the sound. So let me know if you can hear the sound when you finally get there. I should get the... Oh, I should have done that. When I was on my own. Okay, on my own the thingy. Shit. Okay. Turn down the volume. How do I get this? How do I get this link? From here. Share. Copy link. No, nobody's written anything yet. There's the link. I'm only doing that because you're in bed right there, right already, I guess. No, wait. Gotta go back to my old. This one. No, I'm gonna fast forward to the.
First of all, don't worry. This information spreads freight signal from
First time I ever seen him put music.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh! Oh, I wish I could have shown this. It was this music and ladies and gentlemen, and then the next thing you see, rockets are being fired in the air. Probably from Iran, although Israel and America started it. It's all just rockets on the back of trucks in the desert. You must have seen that. You must have seen that. Oh, that's cool.
Tuning in to another show in the first day of True Promise 4. We covered all of the details that came as a response from the Islamic Republic of Iran against
True Promise 4 is the continuation. The 12-day war was last year. Israel attacked Iran, Iran attacked back. Israel attacked Iran, Iran attacked back. And then Israel attacked Iran again. And then they said, we reserve the right to attack back when we want. And a few months later, finally, they attacked back. So those were True Promise 1, 2, and 3. So now we're in True Promise 4. They didn't start it. The Americans positioned their pieces on the board, and Iraq, under international law, had the right to chase them away, and didn't. And the IDF set themselves up on the borders, and Iraq had the right to chase them away, and they didn't. They're allowed to do that under international law. But they have always been picking the peaceful way when they can. And when they can't, they say, fuck you, I'm going to kick your ass. So Iran kicked Israel's ass last time, to the point where Israel made their last attack. Iran didn't attack back yet. They only did Truth Promise 1 and 2 at that point. And they begged the Americans to put a stop to it. They begged for mercy because their Iron Dome was getting all torn up. And so now it's True Promise 4. The Americans are calling it, I think the Americans were calling it Operation Desert Raid or something like that. And then the Israelis called it something else. So they all put their own name on it, but I believe it's called Revelations.
The Epstein regime and the Zionist entities' aggression and acts of barbarity and terrorism against the Iranian people and the Iranian.
Yes, I don't know if anybody heard. Nobody's hearing me now. I'm Vincent. But the Americans, not the Americans, the Israelis, they attacked a girls' school. And according to this source, killed over 80 girls. They couldn't show anything on here except their backpacks. But they also showed the rubble, which a lot of the girls are still in the rubble, because that's who they attacked. And once Iran was attacked by Israel and the Americans, they helped them, then Iran attacked back. And what they attacked 7 countries, all the bases, the American bases, plus Israel. They were in the 7 countries. So it was like a little kid goes up to a man and he starts hitting him. And then the man who's taking it for a bit hauls off and punches him. Not even punching him, slaps him. Slaps the boy. And the boy ends up at the wall. So that was the first night. The second night, we don't know if they're going to double down because they do it here it was in the middle of the night. There it was the daytime. So it's coming up to the time, because I think I found out at like 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. That's when I found out they fired their first salvos. So let's see, because Iran pulled back. They hit him and hit him and hit him with missile after missile, country after country. And these are Arab countries. Iran warned them. They said, when I say he, I'm thinking of the supreme leader. So it's like they said, there's no limited strikes. Iran told the states and Israel, there's no limited strikes. You come here and you think you're going to do a little limited strike, and we're going to let hell loose on you. So we're not stopping until we stop. So they attacked him the first night, left him alone, everything quiet again. And now, gotta find out what they've done since I last heard. So if the Americans in Israel are stupid enough to attack Iran again a second day, then that's it for Israel. They're done. And there's going to be parties all over the world. All over the world. Even in America. By Jews. Jews who have been saying, don't do this in my name. That's talking about what they do to Palestinians in Gaza. Don't do this in my name. But now it's going to be the same thing. Don't attack Iran in our name. They make it like somehow the reason why Iraq is an existentialist threat to Israel is because Israel keeps on poking them. And Iran just keeps on and on. It's like a little mouse around a big elephant. It's like they just keep on and on and on, poking and prodding and everything. And Iran just keeps on going, shut up, little boy. But eventually, they kick back. Kick back. They will kick them back. And Iran's leaders are ethical, moral people, not like fucking Saudi Arabia. But they warned them. They said, if you're going to have American bases there, you are going to get hit. Your country's going to get hit. We're just going to go for the bases, the American bases. But still, your country's going to get hit. They all basically sat there quiet. It's like, yeah, I know, that's only fair. That was only fair. I'm so proud of how Iran has been so patient, so patient. And Hezbollah has been sitting there ever since they stopped Hezbollah when October 7th happened and Hamas hit back at Israel and tried to get their prisoners back. Then October 8th started happening ever since then. And now I've lost count. I used to take note of the count, but I've lost count. How many children, how many men and women. I've lost count. Tens of thousands. I think it was like near 70,000 or something. And these are so timid numbers, you know? Like, it's not counting anybody under the rubble. It's not counting, like, Hamas is so honorable in the way that they do things, even though sometimes there's a piece of them that has to be ugly because they're dealing with ugly people. That's what happens for the resistance. The resistance wants peace. That's what the resistance is. The resistance wants peace. We want to be able to smoke our pot in our way. We want to be able to live in our way, get electricity in our own way. But people won't leave us alone. So there has to be a resistance to the stormtroopers, like ICE and Israel. ICE who learns their tactics from Israel. ICE who treats their prisoners like Israel does. They learned from Israel. They got trained by them. We have to get rid of the Gestapo. And some of us would say, okay, well, let's just attack them. Let's bomb them into the fucking mid-century. Right, medieval ages, I mean. Not mid-century. Bomb them into the medieval time. But some will say, just don't buy their product. You don't give them money. Because that's what their fuel. So if you just don't buy their product, you can bring down a whole fucking country. They're not a real country anyway, but they like to play one on TV. So poor Joe and bastard Jamie are so brainwashed. And they don't see it coming. They don't see what's coming. Not even my friend sees it coming. Which is putting me in dismay. But I just have to hope that it all comes down to the energy in her heart. And that she will focus the right energy into the universe. Whether it's what is not the main focus in this point. At this point, it is to reflect back from the universe what's in our hearts. And so many people who are so much more peaceful than me. Because I've got one camp in a don't buy their products and use your energy to beat them. But I got another camp, put in the camp, a different camp, that wants to see their fucking total destruction so bad. It's like somebody who's just been sitting there going neener, neener, neener for decades, and you just want to slap the fucking shit out of them. Like, that's it. Don't want to hear from you ever fucking again. So, let's see what Mahmoud says. Because this is the way the news should be given. Or this is my perspective of the news.
And people,
me and many, many, many hundreds of thousands of people who follow him. And he was just a regular podcaster before. And now he's got a huge following.
the Iranian armed forces did not disappoint during the night as well, with more attacks at the heart of the genocide entity, with more strikes targeting the Mossad hubs in multiple parts and in other areas in the region of West Asia, in a signal coming from Iran that there are no geographical boundaries to the retaliation that's coming this time. They told the Epstein regime
I love that.
no.
The Epstein regime. That's what he's calling the evil axis, the axis of evil. The Epstein regime, the Epstein class.
Red lines, and there are no red lines. Now, a very important warning for everyone. Some media outlets are trying to portray the Iranian acts of legitimate retaliation against United States assets in some of the Arab countries as hostilities against the Arab states. And it's very important to mention that these attempts coming from either these media outlets,
are you getting the sound?
Official actors.
Are you getting the sound?
And it's very important to mention that these attempts coming from either these media outlets or official actors or individuals are malicious in intent and intended to portray Iran as an aggressor against these countries, and therefore playing to the side of the Epstein regime and the Zionists. Any American base that is based in an Arab country or any European country is under American control. This is American territory. The countries involved, they don't have a say. Whether it's Germany, the United Kingdom, Italy, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Oman, or any other country. So these attempts are coming in the form of deflection. Everyone needs to be warned.
Yes. The way that they put it, and this is what happens in every country with every war, but the way that they have been doing this the whole time that there was no war, they weren't at war, was they were readying, they were grooming the American public and the West to see Iran in a certain way. Iran does not pose a threat to anybody. You leave them alone, they don't do anything. Even when you kick them, they are wise enough not to start a regional war. But America and Israel is the boss of America. Israel demands that there be a regional war. They want a regional war. Probably because they want to weaken everybody. Once they've been through the regional war, they won't be able to handle what's next. Because that's what's happening in Israel, you know. The IDF are so thinned out. Like there's only a certain amount of them. And the ones there, they have had a lot of offings of themselves, and a lot of them are just they're just in hospitals, not because of broken bones, but because they are sick in the head, because that's what armies are, is your country MK Ultras you to death, and then you come out a psycho. And then you come back from the war, and you can't believe all the murked kids that you made. And you want to Crafty. This has been planned. Yeah, of course. Yes, it has been. It has been. But this is Armageddon. I mean, it was written about in Revelations a long time ago, supposedly. This is it. We're in Revelations. We're in what people call the end times. But you have to be a part of the Epstein class to be calling it the end times. Because it's not the end times. It's going to be hard times before it gets better. But the new world is here. Not the new world order, the new world. The people who are kind and compassionate and love each other. That's one world. And the ones that, when Armageddon is happening, they're not paying attention. They're busy lobbing insults at each other, trying to hurt each other. That's the other room. That's the other world. That's the world we live in right now. But we're ascending. All of humanity is ascending. But where you end up is up to you. So that means, that has to mean, with all the thinking that I've thought about all this, no matter, I don't care if people think I'm batshit crazy. It makes total sense to me that the energy that you are in is where you're going to end up. It's going to become. It's like I'm picturing it like it's like a painting that eventually you're going to be able to walk through, but first you have to paint it, and you have to get enough paint on the canvas for it to be a thing, for it to congeal and become a thing. So that's how I'm picturing the energy. That's what we have to do. Now, I'm hoping that I've got the right energy. I know I haven't, but I'm hoping I've got just enough of it. And unfortunately, those who are really smart and have taught me things, I'm not sure they do have that energy. Because just because Nikki could do it, but her perspective, even though it's true, her perspective is right and honest, but it's not, I don't know, there's no belief in it. And Nudo, he doesn't have any belief. And he's too, I don't want to interrupt, and it's going to be like an insult, and I don't want to be doing that, but he just doesn't have the right energy, and he doesn't know it. He doesn't know it. He's such an asset to humanity. Such an asset. I'm kind of partial to him. I was for a long time partial to him. What you say, Crafty? Oh, gotta roll up. When's the new moon? Melvin! God, I've been thinking about you so much. You know why? Because the song, um, the system. You turned me on to the song, The System. And now, look at him. He's a fucking sellout. Tom McDonald is a fucking sellout. I either it's not Tom McDonald. They either kidnapped him, maybe murked him, and put a clone out that as a Democrat, or they kidnapped him and they MK altered him into a Democrat. Either way, his latest song was "Pray for the Dems." Sorry, as a Republican, because his song is "Pray for the Dems." But in the system, he knew that it doesn't matter what side you're on, that bigger things were happening. Little boy and little girl. I'll paint you blue and pink. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I can't get into that. Okay. Anyway, glad to see you, Melvin. So glad to see you. Crafty Cat, you wrote a lot. Hold on. I only have I can only open 2 at once. Okay, StreamYard. Crafty says it was planned a long time ago. Okay, so that's where I got to. Where's my glasses? Gotta put Armageddon on hold, people. Gotta see what the people are saying. And this is a war on your mind. I agree. Yes, I found that article. What article? The Rothschild and Epstein as part of Mossad and Age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius has been here for a while. Yes, that's when the new world was starting, I guess. It started last year, I think. Now is new cycle. Yeah, I know. I'm just wondering how big of a cycle though. Are we talking about, because this is definitely Armageddon. It's got to be. This has all the hallmarks. If you're in the Middle East, which is where the holy books were written, so they'd be from that kind of perspective. But if you're living there in Palestine or Sudan or Yemen, those horsemen have ridden. So, you are frequency. Yep. Yep. And Melvin was laughing. And air, which is an aquarium symbol. Yeah, it's an air symbol. Yep. Not everyone will work in the same term on the same farm. However, you come to this crossroads on your journey. Yes. I don't just hope I can see it when it happens and not pick the wrong thing by accident. Not to drop you. No, I not yet. I need to rant. I'm just stopping to be polite and read your stuff that you wrote. Maybe people. Yeah, I'm not looking for people to come up right now. I need to rant. Most take the cash. Must be talking about Tom McDonald. You including Canada? I'm including the whole fucking world. I don't know what you're talking about, which part of what I said, but I am. Armageddon's got to do with the whole world. And and this is a huge if, this is like a decimal point of 0.0000 something. If there's such a thing as a Christ, a Messiah, he's coming in the next couple years. And he's going to come from the sky like lightning. And he's going to be pissed because this time it's personal. He's going to be pissed. But as long as he has long hair, like the European Jesus, I'll be happy. I got pot today delivered, and it comes in a little tiny, like a cigarette box, but it's really, really tiny. Thin, but it's long enough. And the strain I got was called Purple Churro. And it's funny because I ran into Steph a couple of weeks ago in a chat, and everybody was going churro, 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 and I was like, "What is a fucking churro?" And she said it's like a deep fried fritter thing. And I looked it up, and it looks like you put it down a star-shaped batter thing. And anyway, but this is called purple churro. And it's only 24%, but I only took 2 tokes, and that was a couple hours ago. Like maybe 3 hours ago when I started my live, my last live that nobody saw. Only Nikki. So it just ended up being Nikki and me having a conversation on it backstage. It's just a long phone call, that's all. But now I went live. So, where am I? Call their soul. Melvin. What? What did Melvin say? Including Canada. Most take the clap gas. Sell their soul. I am tired. I will listen to your podcast. Okay. Well, oh, there's more. It as well ruled by Uranus and Aquarius. Focus on your journey. I am. I'm loving it. I am alive for revelations in Technicolor. Like, holy shit. I'm alive for revelations happening. Almost in front of my eye. Not close enough. Because it's like a solar eclipse. You can't get too close. You can't look at it. You have to look from the side of your eye. And that's what you got to do with this. With your right eye, you watch and see what they're doing in the world, not necessarily just in your local stuff. In the world, watch what they're doing. Have critical thinking. If you're you've got MAGA or whatever, you've got no hope. You have to leave the cult. Anyway, watch with your right eye. With your left eye, watch all the beauty that nature has for you and me and everybody. And think about how we're all brothers and sisters. And find whatever joy you can, anything that makes your heart skip a beat, anything that makes you feel balanced, or anything that makes you feel like you just want to skip a beat because you just can't wait. You're so happy. You found your true love. You're happy for the children that you have. Anything, everything. Do that. Be watching that with your left eye. Keep your right eye on what's going on in the 3D. but keep your left eye connected to your heart. Because then, that way, whatever is in your heart, if you keep the hate out of it, because I have so much hate in my heart for the powers that be, I've let go of so much of it, but it's still there. It's still there. Because I want to see nothing more than their fucking destruction. Total, utter destruction. And if people had kept at it, we could have brought down Israel just by not buying their shit. Don't buy their shit, they have no power. What did you say? Oh, focus on your power. Focus on your journey. Focus on your power. You have power. You are powerful. You are just as powerful as the Epstein class, the Epstein empire. What do you call them?
The aggressors here are the blackmailed president of the United States of America, who in
Yes, what a lot of Americans probably are not aware of, if they're not on this side of the fence, is that the way things happened, Trump said he was going to release the Epstein files, but he's been in power since January 20th of last year. But it was Netanyahu who had the Epstein files released because he owns the Senate. Israel owns the Senate. And by proxy, Netanyahu does. So he had the whatever body, if it's the Senate or whatever, release the Epstein files heavily redacted because Trump was dilly-dallying. He didn't want to attack Iran. This is not what he wanted. I'm not saying he's a innocent little lamb, but this is not what he wanted. To start World War III is not what he wanted. He wants to steal countries like he did with Venezuela, but that's fine, right? You just go in and steal their gold. Now he's got the gold. He likes games like that, where he's a sure winner. But he knows damn well that Iran is going to kick their asses. He knows damn well that Americans are going to die. And he knows damn well that even though he lied to the American public and said that they got rid of their missile program, they have millions of missiles, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, and they got more ammo from China. And they have, China and Russia are not going to come right out and say we're on Iran's side, but they will be, I bet you anything, they will be in the Security Council in the UN, and I bet you they will be when it comes to the point where World War III is invoked. So it will be the United States, Israel versus Iran, China, and Russia. That's what it's going to be. And then they're going to have all the little satellites around, all the people that they have in their pockets on their sides, right? But those are the main players.
accordance to the Epstein files, raped girls, American girls, abused them, and potentially murdered them too, who is being blackmailed by a child-killing, supremacist, apartheid ethno-state that calls itself Israel, who views him, by the way, as just another goy.
Yep.
Just another person who is below us, by the way. Trump himself. for the sake of their genocidal expansionist ambitions in the region.
I might be the only one offering completely free financial investment education online. No fees, no
region. Himself. For the sake of their genocidal expansionist ambitions in the region. It's nothing to do with the American people. It's nothing to do with any threat. Iran is a wonderful country with wonderful people. And even the Iranian authorities have been cooperating with the same Epstein regime that backstabbed them and attacked them in June 2025, just to tell the whole world, listen, we're talking.
Yeah. You see, as America are positioning their warships at the command of Israel, still Iran was talking to them. Still they had peace in mind. That's who Iran really is. Now, all of the owners of the companies, all of the CEOs of the companies, I should say, like Trump, like, who do we have here? What's his name? Martin? What's his name? Forgot. What's our, oh. I said a long time ago. Okay, so where was it? Right. So anyway, Iran is not what everybody says they are, and just because they're Muslims doesn't make them psychopaths. It's the other side. It's the ones that accuse them of being psychopaths that are the actual psychopaths. It is the ones who accuse Iran of being terrorists who are the actual terrorists. Everything's backwards. It's all ass backwards. And MAGA is not going to know what hit them.
Marco Rubio had arranged a meeting with the Iranian delegation. Iran said the talks are going very well. We're willing to reach an understanding. Yeah, you are arrogant, and yeah, you're not entitled to speak about nukes, but listen, we want to reach a diplomatic deal, no problem.
See?
But the Epstein regime, led by Donald Trump, blackmailed by Netanyahu and the supremacist Zionists who view him as just another goy who they have on a leash. They don't like that. They want the greater genocidal supremacist ethno-state, apartheid country taking over everything from the Nile to the Euphrates River.
It's so funny. Euphrates River. He's a Palestinian living in Britain, England somewhere. So he probably went to school there and stayed there. Yeah, Israel wants to take over the whole Middle East. And Iran's not going to let them because Iran is the resistance. And you need a resistance. You can't just let the stormtroopers take over everything. There has to be a resistance. So, they're the Sith. We're the Jedi.
Iran clearly told them now and showed by actions that they are exploding all out. 14 American locations, American bases were attacked and multiple parts in the genocide state. Let's begin with some of the attacks that took place after this morning, during the day when Iran targeted multiple locations.
Yes, and let's remember, Israel attacked a school, a girl of school, a school of girls, a girls' school. They attacked. They murked over 80 children and maimed and injured many more. It was a girls' school in Tehran, I believe. That's what they did. What the Iranians did was attack the bases of the U.S., the bases of Israel. That's who they attacked. Now, in Israel, it's very hard to hit your target and only your target. So I'm sure some other missiles must have fallen somewhere. I know that Jordan wanted to be helpful to the empire because they're just chicken shits, because their whole armies consist, my dad used to say, their army consists of one tank and 3 bicycles. So the king of Jordan saw fit to try to shoot down an Iranian missile and bring it down on his own people. Isn't that great? It's like Christians who teach their children that the Jews are the chosen ones. Now, I know that I'm teaching you this religion, but just know that we're lowly. And that religion over there, they're the chosen ones. We have to sit on the outside and watch because we're goyim.
We saw something quite, well, new. This was one of the Iranian missiles that were launched earlier on.
Sorry, I can't show you the picture.
Resembles the Oreshnik. It
I'm going to put them on
the Oreshnik,
1.5.
Clearly a hypersonic missile that was going and making the direction towards the occupied territories. Iran told them, and Iran indeed delivered. There were also more videos coming out from the locations where Iran had multiple strikes, especially in the UAE. This was the landing of the Shahid drone, the Shahid 136, targeting a location in the UAE. Let's have a look.
Oh, he always knows where to put the commercials.
Location in the UAE. Let's have a look. Oh my God. Oh my God. That was one angle. Of course, we showed you the previous attacks that Iran had.
Take note of the fact that that was a North American accent in the UAE. Watching it was a huge explosion.
And there were more angles as well. Of course, the American-Israeli terror campaign targeted schools in Iran. Reports over 80 girls in elementary were massacred, and many of their bodies were still under the ground. Horrific scenes similar to the ones that we saw in Gaza with body parts of little girls. That's what America does. That's what Israel does. Of course, the images here are too graphic. Some of them are circulating on other outlets. What we can share here is the backs of these girls. Look at that. Look at that.
Black backpacks. Pink.
Covered in blood.
And yellow.
And the scenes were barbaric. Literal barbarity. Modern day barbarism.
And they're under the rubble.
Barbarism. And the Zionist mouthpieces, what did they try and do? They try to deflect. Oh, it's Iran. Oh, Iran actually targeted the school.
What,
like
really?
It was the Palestinian resistance targeting Al-Armageddon hospital, killing 600 people. It's as if it's in Iran's interest to kill them. But of course, deny, deflect. Although the authorities, by the way, didn't deny. So neither did America or Israel officially said, we did not target the school. So the US says, CENTCOM doesn't say we didn't target the school. The IDF says doesn't say we didn't target the school. They don't deny. But who denies? The Zionist mouthpieces. Paid by the shekel. But to cover up, of course,
paid
what
by
they
the
do,
shekel.
barbarism. I should believe I did share with you the fact that after the strikes, Iranians took the streets. Not the Mossad agents that Netanyahu and Trump were asking to go out, because Netanyahu and Trump were saying that you need to go out now. You need to take the control in your own hands. Thinking that they can land a couple of strikes against Iran, then all of a sudden a couple of Mossad rats will go out and take control. They're hilarious. The Iranian people were out showing solidarity. That's solidarity with the Islamic Republic of Iran, solidarity with the supreme leader, and with the nation.
That's another thing that needs clearing up. They did what they do in many countries. They put the Mossad in the country, and then Mossad starts whispering in ears. You can't take that. The Ayatollah shouldn't be able to do that. You got to protest. You got to get a whole bunch of people to protest. And then they run the protest. And then Iran cut off the Starlink so that the Mossad couldn't contact each other. Now it was like when you see a line of ants and then you rub a little line in front of them and get rid of the scent, and then the ant starts going around in circles. That's how I pictured the Mossad in Iran when that happened. And then all of a sudden, by a miracle, the protests stopped. Then they started back up again, but they found ways to get their trail back again, I guess. But they're making it like they're saving the Iranian people, which is such bullshit. If they need to be saved, they'll save themselves. They're not trying to be saved. They don't want to be saved. And anything you see on NBC or CBS or anything else is all just fucking hype. It's all propaganda. I'm not saying there aren't people who aren't pissed off at Iran, but they've always protested, just like we've always protested here. But they don't want the old leader, like the Americans are saying, like the Israelis are saying. They don't want the old leader. They overthrew the old leader. They don't want to put him back in. So in 1979 or something, they overthrew the leader, and then they put the Ayatollah in there as the religious leader, being the one who actually makes all the decisions. You can't do shit unless it gets past. It has to get through the Ayatollah first. So, or I don't even know if that's even the highest. There might be another one. The supreme leader might be higher than the Ayatollah. I don't know. They're the same person. But that's who, and you know why? I'd rather that. If I believed in a religion, I would rather live in a country that was dictated by, not when I say dictated, I mean like you dictate a letter, not like you form ICE and then kidnap people and put them in jail. I would rather that be the laws of the land, because there's nothing higher than your moral system. And if you get your moral system from your religion, then you are better off being guided by your religion in your country of your religion. Makes sense to me. And that's why we need borders, unfortunately, Nudu, if you're out there somewhere. That's why we need borders, because everybody gets a right to believe in what they believe in and live with their neighbors in relative peace. Now, anybody who takes there's the Ayatollah, then there's the president. So there's a president of Iran, or is it a prime minister? I think it's a president. It's a president of Iran, and he does the country's business and all the politics. But it has to get by the supreme leader to be law. And that law is based on what they believe their, I don't know, leader would want it to be. What they believe that God would want it to be. And I don't think they're saying supreme, like, you know how they say that the Pope is ordained by God. They pick based on what God tells them to. I don't know what they're considering God. I'm not considering. I don't know what their criteria is, but I don't think they actually appoint this supreme leader the same way. I think he's just a wise man, and they decide who is the wisest and make him the supreme leader, or the supreme leader decides who the next one is, because I'm sure they've got another supreme leader picked out, or a few of them picked out, and they'll pick one at a time that they have to. But anyway, I think that system is way better. And what Trump is doing by trying to turn America into a Christian country, you can't do that unless you get rid of, like, physically get rid of all the others. That is not the way they do it. In Iran, it's an ancient country. It's been around for a long, long time. And Islam's been around for a long, long time. And that's the way they do. So this here, that we made it into a, what do you say, a hodgepodge or something? Hodgepodge? We made it here hodgepodge. After we stole the land from the caretakers of this land and crippled them and made a genocide on them, you don't have to kill all the people to make genocide. Genocide is when you are attempting to erase a culture, and you don't have to murk all the people just to genocide. Genocide has become a verb, and I'm doing it now too myself, which is really bad because I try not to join the Americans with their very rotten English. But anyway, so you can't do that here. You can't just make this a Christian land. And no, it wasn't a Christian land. It was a native land. And they didn't believe in that shit. And Italians came over. And, in Canada, we brought slaves over from China to build our railroad in the West. Slaves. Chinese people. Slaves. Just like black people. Slaves. They were slaves in the States. Here we had Chinese people. Well, everybody is a slave, really, but like actual roots slave. Only Chinese. So you just can't do that here. If this is not a Christian country, that is not a Christian country. You can't. And even Palestine, where Christianity is centered, not where it was born in Rome, but it was centered on Palestine, because that's where Jesus, the Palestinian Jew, walked amongst my family and many, many, many others. So that is the birthplace of Jesus. And that's where the Christians, the holy church in Bethlehem, oh, such a beautiful church. I mean, like, the things that they do, even though it's, cult-like still, but still beautiful. Nice and old. That's what I love about it. That's what makes it beautiful. It's just so old. And even in the birthplace of Jesus, that's not a Christian country. It's not a Jewish country. It's not a Christian country. And Islam has places that are holy in Palestine, and it's not a Muslim country. There just happens to be most of them are Muslims, so it would end up being a Muslim country. But in Palestine, specifically, also in Syria, before the fall of Syria happened in the last couple of years, and Israel and America blew it up, basically without a bomb. And but in Palestine, everybody's religion, all three gets respected. I know there's more religions than that, but those three get respected. The people still, if there's Jewish laws, but everybody's mostly Arabs, which is what was happening before 1947 or even 1912, really. They started building up and building up. There's still a small population, and the reason why they never wanted a one state solution was because they knew that the Arabs would out will you vote more? I can't read it. You're saying something about Kurdish. Anyway, it was always, if there were, the Jews were a small portion of the country for a long, many, however many hundreds of thousands of years, whatever. They have always been the small population, mostly. I looked at a thing that showed, based on the census, I guess, over the years, how the Arab and Jewish population fluctuated back and forth. But the Jews, the real Jews, the ones that are from that land, not the ones that just, they're Jews by religion, but I mean the Jews that are ethnic Jews who were born on that land, and their great grandparents were born there too, and are in the soil. They are forming the oil that will one day be from the cemeteries, and those are the Jews I'm talking about. They were usually the small population, even as the years go by. It was very small time that they were the larger part. It's not even a large place. It doesn't have that many people. But they were afraid that the Palestinians would super outnumber them. And that's why they didn't want a one-state solution. And they didn't give us a two-state solution, one that we could actually live with, not one that, where the smaller part of the population takes, 65%, and the largest part of the population takes 35%. That's not a two-state solution. That's just a bad deal, as Mr. Trump might say. That's just a bad deal.
Know very well who they're dealing with. They are dealing with the enemies of humanity. They are dealing with enemies of Americans, the enemies of human beings, the enemies of anything noble.
Remember, when he's talking on the side of Iran. So he's saying they, meaning we, are dealing with the enemies of humanity, and that those are the Zionists. The Zionists are the enemies of humanity. That is like so clear to anybody who doesn't have their ass wrapped around their heads. They are the enemies of humanity, not just Palestinians, of humanity. So he's saying they're dealing with the enemies. Iran is dealing with the enemies of humanity.
Just on this earth. And therefore, they went out to support these moves coming from their country to defend Iran against this barbaric aggression coming from the United States, and Israel against Iraq. Now, it wasn't only, of course, the attacks that I showed you before, but more attacks took place during the night against some American assets in Bahrain. Let's see, and the people were celebrating. That's why I tell you, listen, be warned from these people who try and deflect and tell you, oh, look, Iran is targeting Arab countries. They're not targeting Arab countries. They're targeting American bases planted in these Arab countries. And any bases of the United States, when they're planted there, it becomes U.S. territory. Everyone knows that. I mean, whether the hosting country says don't use them or what have you, if they want to use them, they'll use them. And by the way, Iran was very lenient before when these bases were used for hostile actions against them. Let's have a look at the additional nightly attack in Al-Manama and the people celebrating.
Tom Ogle drove 200 miles on only 2 gallons of gasoline.
Oh, that's a guy. I would have watched that commercial.
It's as if they're watching a football match and Iran scored 1-0 against the United States of America.
Yeah.
So the people are celebrating. There were, of course, more videos coming out from Iran. And by the way, in relation to that attack against the school in Iran, the Iranian Ministry of Education said that 86 students were killed in the American Zionist aggression on 3 schools across the country. Who targets
3 schools?
And can someone tell me if that was an accident or was it literally?
How do you manage to hit 3 schools by accident? That just doesn't happen. I mean, those in the know, as Candace Owens would say, no. So even when it's just one school, we know that they either meant to attack the school or they just didn't care that they got the school. But when you get 3 schools in a small attack, I mean, that was just a small attack. Israel and America have so much more firepower than just that one thing in the beginning. And yet they hit 3 schools.
Deliberate. The same people who said they wanted to liberate Iranian women. What is the first thing that they do in Iran? Target girls' schools. Massacre little girls. Their parents are waiting to see them. Instead, they go and see body parts. That's the United States and Israel for you. Then the army of the Islamic Republic of Iran announced that 12 enemy drones have been destroyed by the integrated network of the country's Khatam al-Anbiya air defense base over the past several hours in Iran, indicating that the defenses of Iran were working perfectly fine, despite, again, of course, multiple attacks taking place. Because, listen, no air defense system is fully successful, ever, in any country. It doesn't matter how much you're advanced. There's nothing called 100% protection, whether it's in Iran or you can see the Iranian missiles landing in Israel. How many layers does Israel have? 4 layers of air defense systems. The Iranian missiles were cutting through these layers, the Zionist layers, like a Japanese katana was cutting through Zionist butter and landing and exploding. Now, we were talking about the attacks that took place in Al-Manama in Bahrain. Iran didn't just target the 5th Fleet HQ. They didn't just target radar systems. I'm showing you, by the way, the most recent videos, and for those who are joining us now, I'll show you the previous videos too. One radar system, the early detection radar system in North Qatar, worth $1 billion American US dollars, destroyed. There was another one that they targeted in Bahrain with a hsee drone, cheap drones, by the way. Iran, some people say they have millions of these drones. And they targeted hotels and apartments that house US officials who work for the US Army.
Oh, that's what
one of them was an apartment in a hotel. Let's have a look at this attack.
Oh. I see 2 apartments on fire. Could be more, I don't know. This is where American and Israeli commanders were. I wonder why they hit a hotel. I thought they hit a hotel in Israel.
So that was only...
I thought that was horrible.
That was one footage of that attack that took place because Iran is targeting the personnel as well. Anyone working for the US forces, they're targeting them whether they are in an apartment or any other location too. Then there was another scene from the Shahid 136 drones that struck the US Navy Command headquarters in Bahrain, as you can see in the following video. again, the people are celebrating. The people of the Arab and Muslim world, the people in Washington, the people in America, the people everywhere across the world are celebrating these attacks that are taking place against the aggressors. And of course, there are minor attempts, or slightly more than minor, to try and undermine these attacks and portrays them as something that they're not. But that's clearly not working very well. This was another angle of the attack, and you can see the drone coming in here. Look.
Somebody added music to it. Oh, I forgot to take my
So
pill.
nothing was working here. You know, they're telling you about defenses. Nothing is working. At least the ones in Bahrain. Multiple other things were working. Now, I showed you the building attack, right, of the personnel that work for the United States forces. There was a person who recorded this drone-targeted assassination drone against the American forces in Bahrain. Have a look at this video.
Ooh, that's right in the hotel. Sparks came down their window. That's how close they are.
And that was, of course, the close-up of that same attack that I showed you before on the building, the suicide drone building. In case you haven't seen it, this is another angle. Here you go. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. نحن في السودان.
Commercial.
الحمد لله رب العالمين. ايش اسمك انت؟
Oh, I don't have this. I gotta get water.
ايش اسمك يا بطل؟ Oh, that wasn't the one in Bahrain, because that one looked like a one in Israel. Could be the one in Israel. The one in Bahrain was from the different angle that I showed you before. The one that had the same drone landing in an apartment block, the same that the one recorded. Well, we're flooded with so many videos coming both from Israel and from other parts too. This was some of the damage being published by the Israelis in one of the buildings inside the country.
Destroyed. It looks like what Israel does to the West Bank.
Despite the fact that Iran didn't really unleash everything on Israel. That was just the beginning session. That was just like the taster session against Israel. And there were more videos, however, being published from the missile attacks that took place in Tel Aviv. Let's have a look at this here.
Whoa. Came from overhead and hit right in front. Looks like they have an ambulance right there waiting.
So that was one angle from the attacks that took place
Like a
from
thunderstorm.
Iran. And one of them was actually recorded on the same mainstream media outlets that try and hide everything. Let's have a look at this video over here.
What's CNN?
Then the Israelis, I think that's what the calculation now is. Regime preservation. Could you get a more pragmatic figure presiding over this regime? Sure.
Aaron, I just want to break in for a moment because we're looking at live pictures in the air over Tel Aviv. And obviously, as many people know, or maybe don't know, there is an Iron Dome that Israel uses as its missile defense system. And we're seeing it working now. But in some places and instances, it does not work. And I believe this is one missile feasibly that has broken through the Iron Dome.
Yeah.
Oh, they admitted that something broke through the iron. I thought they said this was an interception. But what you're seeing is not really real. And it would be anti-Semitic if you actually believe that a missile landed. How bizarre. Anyway, that was happening. And you can see, of course, the conversation on NBC News. You know, is there someone else you can buy in the regime? Do tell me about if you can get someone else in your regime. Tell me if someone else can replace the Epstein regime, please. That is led by child trafficking protectors and pedophiles. Oh my goodness, and child sacrifice people. And oh my, I think that's the regime that needs to change. Don't worry about the establishment in Iran. Do not worry about them, ladies and gentlemen. And I see some people asking, is the supreme leader, has he been assassinated or not? Listen, we've had
reports, the Israelis said that they assassinated him. Some Iranian officials denied, including one senior official. However, we wouldn't really be sure until we see them alive. What's for sure is they said that Ali Rajani was assassinated, then Ali Rajani went out to threaten them again with a post. So we'll wait and see. If the supreme leader was martyred, may Allah's mercy be upon him. He would have been granted martyrdom, and someone else will come and lead the resistance against the Epstein regime and the child-killing apartheid pedophiles. And if he's still alive, well, great, he can continue his mission up until later on. But what people need to understand is the structure of the establishment in Iran. In Iran, the supreme leader is called al-Murshid, as in the guider. He guides the establishment. There are multiple councils to elect the supreme leader. You have millions of literal members in the establishment in the form of either government or forces or whatever it is, let alone the tens of millions of supporters, right? You saw what happened a couple of, just over a month ago with the protests in Iran. Normal average Iranians were protesting, and they're entitled to. Of course, some people don't like the government, they're entitled to. And then they were infiltrated by the Mossad rats, as Mike Pompeo confirmed and as Israel confirmed. Mike Pompeo said he greeted the Mossad operatives in Iran. How stupid of him. But that's the arrogance of the Zionists and the Epstein regime. And then they were thwarted by the Iranian people, because the real Iranian opposition is an honorable opposition. We disagree with the government, but we won't go against our country. We won't support attacks against our daughters and grandmothers and mothers. It doesn't make sense. But that's, of course, something that Epstein regime, led by Donald Trump, and the apartheid supremacists and the genocide state, they don't want you to think about that and talk about that. To deflect, of course, to deflect from the fact that they're still murdering infants in Gaza to this day, right? With American weapons, with Western weapons, because they're chosen, they can do that. No, the Iranian establishment is strong. Don't worry about it. And the supreme leader, whether he was martyred or not, don't worry even about that. If he was martyred, he will be rewarded. And if he wasn't martyred, the resistance will continue, because it's an operation, it's a system, it's a belief, it's faith, right? It's a global battle of people with basic universal values against child traffickers and child killers. That's what it is. It's not very complicated.
Spiritual war.
But if you want to make it appear to be as if, the regime is on the brink of collapse. They've been telling us that the regime is on the brink of collapse for the past 50 years. 40-something years. We have more images for the fans of direct landings on the genocide state. There are more videos being published. Let's have a look at this video over here.
Oh, that looks like it was Dubai.
Bell pepper, 2 cucumbers, a couple of tomatoes. This is
More videos being published. Let's have a look at this video over here.
Look like Dubai buildings. One comes in, one goes out.
And again, guys, that's just the beginning. By the way, this is not major. These are not like major attacks happening. This is just the beginning. Iran is just testing everything. This was the smoke coming out. Let's have a look at this over here. This was the smoke coming out after the attack happened in Tel Aviv and in multiple other parts. And people, of course, want to know what exactly did they hit. Iran said that they targeted multiple locations. But the attacks weren't necessarily intended to literally land on everything, by the way. This was just the initial strike. This was just the initial strike, initial test. But some of these missiles landed anyway. They landed and they caused damage. And they caused damage in what is believed to be the Kiryah, or the hub of control and command, as we can see in this video. And the hub, by the way, is embedded within civilian society. You see, they tell you, oh, we don't, the Palestinians, they embed themselves, they use the people as human shields. They use cities as human shields, the Israelis. That was Tel Aviv tonight, after a long day of attacks coming from Iran. So, what do we understand?
Chances are, what's going on the MSM is they're telling all the Americans, oh, we hit them hard, man. We got them hard. But if you actually see everything that's available, you're going to see that the Americans got hit hard. The Israelis got hit hard. The Iranians got hit hard because even though Iran hit hard, they hit hard on bases. They went after people who were in the military. Even if they're in apartments, They're the military. But Americans and Israelis go after children. They murk children. So Iran got hit hard because 3 children's schools were targeted. 3. So definitely targeted. They hit 3. That's the way the Americans and the Israelis do.
You understand from what Iran understands. So really and truly, Iran carried out an operation so strong, so long, and so solid that many did not expect. Firstly, the initial strike coming from the Epstein regime and the apartheid state against Iran should have intended to thwart their capability to carry out the responsive measure. Usually when you want to attack, first you target the locations to try and destabilize everything to do with the response. You'll target the missiles, the air defenses, target senior command so that you can create a shock element inside the country. Within minutes, not hours, not a day, minutes, Iran already started to target multiple bases in multiple geographic locations and the genocide state. And they did not stop. It's not like they had a wave and then they waited for a day or half a day. It was ongoing. The missiles came in the form of waves. But the attacks are so carefully orchestrated, and they prove that Iran is very comfortable in launching them. There is no distress there. They're launching missiles and drones from multiple parts, casually flying over the 5th Fleet HQ in Bahrain, reaching the occupied territories, and landing and causing huge levels of damage against the genocide state and against the Epstein regime. Recent videos also showed, and although the attacks were still limited, as in Iran still not going all out, but even with this not going all out, they're really showing substantial capabilities here. This is one of the videos of the damage in Tel Aviv. Have a look.
Attention Canadian parents. If you have kids at home and a monthly housing payment to worry about, listen closely. This is for you. If your income vanished tomorrow, your family's world doesn't just get sad, it could get expensive. Without your paycheck, keeping up with the mortgage or rent could become a real struggle. It could mean moving to an address your kids didn't choose. It could mean losing the stability you've worked your entire life to build. Most parents think they have time, but later is a luxury your family maybe can't afford. But from only $9.66 a month, you could.
So this was reported to be hit in Tel Aviv, and the after effects that took place in that area following the attack. And more mainstream media outlets were actually trying to cover what's happening in Israel and running away, like NBC News, like Fox News, with their coverage of what's happening inside of the occupied territories. Okay, so moving back to the beginning, leading to now, and then what's expected exactly, what is going to be the response coming, or the continuation coming from the United States, the Epstein regime and the apartheid Zionist child killers. What's going to happen exactly? Just one more video, and then we'll continue talking. I'll share some of the earlier videos too. This was reportedly one of the missiles that landed in Tel Aviv as well. So the Iranian missiles landing properly, and where are the air defense systems? Where are the multi-layers? That's just one single missile. Why couldn't the Iron Foam intercept it, or David's thing, or shallow take something. And reports that a vessel has been targeted by missiles on the coasts of occupied Palestine too, as we can see in this image over here. Now, this has been posted by a couple of sources, not many. I personally couldn't verify it. We definitely did see Iran attacking a gas exploration field off the shores of occupied Palestine in True Promise 3, which I shared with you at the time. So it could be likely that they are also targeting, or another group targeting, because now it's an open front. Iran just immediately said it's an open war, basically. You know, Donald Trump wanted to have this strike and hope that the Iranian people would go against the supreme leader or the establishment. That clearly, the opposite actually happened. And the opposite is the people went out to the streets to support the establishment and the supreme leader from these attacks. This was another video of the damage that took place in Tel Aviv after the Iranian missile landed. Okay, so what's going to happen? Like the United States basically had this initial attack and, excuse me, the Epstein regime. I mean, the American people are so against this. It's unreal how many Americans are against this attack. The Epstein regime, the pedophile child traffickers, and the apartheid supremacist child killing state, they started to attack Iran. Iran basically showed them that it's impossible to stop any sort of response coming from them, and it's a continuing response. So they're having response after response after. So it's like they initiated a war of attrition immediately. It's like they're raising all of the bars. But was that the full force that the United States could have used against Iran, or was it not? It wasn't. It wasn't. Why wasn't that the case? Well, it's because Trump was still hoping that he can get something out of it, only for him to be slapped by Iran. Secondly, they were too scared to carry out a more intensive attack, because when you saw the attacks on Kabul and Baghdad in the early 2000s, that was after they disabled their air defenses and any of their capabilities. With Iran, they haven't. With Iran, they know there's still danger. So where they can actually conduct attacks in a larger scale, and they have the capacity to, all of these forces and assets of the United States, they can do more damage in Iran. But they're worried. They're worried because Iran still has air defense capabilities, electronic warfare capabilities, advanced radar systems, secondary radar systems that support their air defense systems. All of that complicates matters much, much more. Like the secondary radar systems that they got reportedly from China and Russia in the past couple of months made it terribly awfully more difficult for the United States and Israel. Why? Because whenever they wanted to take down an Iranian air defense system, they would target the radar, which is usually located somewhere else, so that if something is hit, the other wouldn't necessarily be hit. Now that they have a secondary radar for an air defense system, even if one of them is targeted, Iran still has the capability to intercept either the missile or what's called the stealth fighter jet or other fighter jets or other unmanned aerial vehicles, whatever it is that the United States and Israel would send against Iran, or even cruise missiles, tomahawks, and what have you. The fact that Iran has these secondary radars, and the fact that they had advanced electronic warfare systems from China and Russia, and alongside their own advanced systems, like no one should undermine the capabilities that Iran has. Iran is very advanced in their military development and their air defenses. That is very problematic. I mean, I would argue that the United States also used the tomahawks, as we saw this morning, the wave of tomahawks going through Erbil reportedly and other parts too, just before Iran starts to actually use the recently purchased manpads that they got from Russia, because they're intended against the cruise missiles and any helicopters, any attacks that are apart from the traditional, of course, air defense systems. This is really very telling. I mean, this image is very telling. This is what Trump, in effect, is doing to the American people.
Whoever invented this for O-Cedar deserves a raise, because I never thought I'd like it so much. Take off the mop head, then
It's very telling. This is what Trump, in effect, is doing to the American people. Grinding them as meat for Israel. And I'm sure some people know. But more people need to know that, especially those who are actively participating now. There are elements of resistance already on the USS Gerald R. Ford, with some of the Marines shoving the T-shirts or whatever type of thing that blocked the toilets over there. This was later confirmed by Colonel Douglas McGregor. Literally descent on an aircraft carrier because they don't want to die for a child trafficking pedophile who's being blackmailed by a supremacist child murderer who views them as goyim.
See, I love the way he puts everything in proper perspective. Because these American soldiers don't want to be there either. Some of them, a lot of them, they don't want to be there either. They don't want to die for something over on the other side of the world that has nothing to do with them. That's not protecting America. That's being a hired mercenary for the guy with the golden throne. That's all that is. No ethics involved whatsoever. Just like the golden throne has no ethics. Very unlike Iran, who puts what they believe is their wisest man at the head of the table.
Used and as below. Do you understand? It's fairly easy to access all of this information. Now, a very interesting statement came from the leader of the Khatam al-Anbiya command hub in Iran, who recently stated that Iran is the one that will determine the end of war. The retaliatory operations will continue without pause and relentlessly until the final defeat of the enemy. All American bases and interests in the region are legitimate targets. This is the most recent statement coming from the leader of the Khatam al-Anbiya hub command center in Iran, who said that Iran will determine the end of the war and operations will continue without pause and relentlessly until the final defeat of the enemy. All American bases and interests in the region are legitimate targets. What does he mean by that? Well, firstly, they have proof on ground. Every time I follow a notification coming about an attack from Iran, there's always something. Something is happening. But what does he mean by the defeat of the enemy? How can that be defined? Well, it can be defined in multiple ways. One very basic definition of the defeat of the enemy is the enemy submitting to the demands of Iran. That's it. Iran sets the conditions to stop the attack, tells the Epstein regime and the apartheid state, these are the demands to stop attacking you. If you adhere, we'll stop. What are the chances that the arrogant American and Israeli administrations will accept that? Small. There's a very small chance that they would accept such a thing. For it would look really humiliating, especially for Netanyahu, who is now capitalizing and trying to make the best out of this attack against Iran to try and get his leadership again and win the next Israeli elections in October. How is it going to happen? What are the Israelis going to tell him? Oh, you started something and all of a sudden you chickened out? That's not going to work well for him. Can it work for Donald Trump? That's a separate story because really and truly Trump himself, we need to understand that he's a blackmailed individual. Donald Trump is blackmailed and he doesn't really want all of this. Donald Trump is being blackmailed into all of this. Doesn't, of course, give him an excuse or anything. He's just as abhorrent as Netanyahu. And he's a murderer. He's a mass murderer, Donald Trump. He enabled genocide, he armed Israel. So he has no excuse. But he could have a deal. Why? Because, well, the Americans had a deal already. They had a deal with the same country that they said they wouldn't have a deal with unless they stopped their attacks, which was Yemen. And that was against the will of Israel at the time. Now let's go back slightly to the morning. Okay, for those of you who weren't here in the early live stream, looks like we're going to have to do a morning.
No, they do.
Understand how it works. The establishment in Iran is functional, and it's established in a way where even if you kill all of the top figures, there's going to be replacement and everything will be functional. Even if some communication has been cut from certain parts of the country, other parts will continue to function normally. Plus, under the Iran that you see, there's an Iran that you don't see. But it's all part of the psychological warfare and propaganda machine. They try and make people believe that the Epstein regime and the apartheid child-killing Zionists are accomplishing something in Iran. When really and truly, this is what's happening.
Okay, so I like and
these are the Iranian drones landing inside of the
save it.
El Manama, where they were targeting multiple figures who were actively working with the United States forces to carry out operations against Israel. Now, there are multiple moves happening from Israel that indicate that we're looking for a prolonged period of escalations. And some of these reports spoke about 160, some of them spoke about 70. What's for sure is Israel's preparing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, according to one report, 160,000 reservists who called it. Where are they bringing them from? Do they have their limbs chopped off from the Palestinian resistance in Gaza? Are they like over 60 or something? I'm not sure. And it again could be part of the game that they play. Because really and truly, I mean, the Palestinian resistance was roasting them up until the last minute in Gaza. A Palestinian resistance fighter with bare feet and nothing but a device was going into a personnel carrier, landing an explosive device there and then taking 14 genocidal terrorists down. What are they going to do? But they're saying that we're deploying more and we're preparing for something big, which indicates that, well, they could actually be looking for things that would include certain ground operations. And that might have to be with
Our plan to protect Ontario is building new nuclear facilities.
Lebanon.
That's funny.
Although they are saying actually that, you know, we might have something with Gaza again, you know, they're still committing a genocide in Gaza. And that's not really out of the question. One of the most humiliating things in all of this is the fact that Israel said and confirmed today that this was one of the biggest, if not actually the biggest attack flight in the history of the Israeli Air Force. The largest attack flight in the history of the Air Force, 200 fighter jets attacked approximately 500 targets. I mean, are they really inflating numbers or are they really telling the truth? Because if they're telling the truth, then it's more humiliating because it couldn't even thwart a counter move immediately. If 200 Israeli fighter jets targeted 500 targets in Iran, and Iran managed to respond within a minute, and sirens were on in Israel, in occupied Palestine, within 1 minute, and American assets were being hit within several minutes, to be precise, then what kind of an attack is that? It's embarrassing. Add to that the United States participated too, it's even more embarrassing. So what, are they lying or are they telling the truth? Because if they're lying, okay, there's nothing abnormal here, you're pathological liars. If you're not, then it's an embarrassment. Iran embarrassed you with attrition, literal attrition attacks 24/7 against Israel that are non-stop, and against American assets, and against American HQs, and against the Fifth Fleet Command Base, and against so many parts of the US assets in the region, and personnel locations that are used by personnel in the region. All of these things show that this is a huge embarrassment. And now, is the American and Israeli side preparing something bigger than what we saw? Are they planning to do something much bigger? Are they planning for bigger massacres, for example, against Iran? Perhaps. And perhaps they are already talking. Maybe they're trying to talk. No one is confirming that there are talks, but maybe they're talking because they saw how fierce the response from Iran was and how much damage they sustained. I mean, look at this. This is the second attack that took place in Al-Manama today in Bahrain. Look at this. So, I mean, the United States wouldn't be able to handle too many attacks such as this for a prolonged period. It's going to be difficult for them, especially when they're unable to protect them. That's the more embarrassing part, that they're unable to protect these assets that they have against the attacks coming from Iran, the legitimate attacks or responses coming from Iran against the United States assets in the region, and also the Israeli genocide state. If it's about Israel and it's about Israel only, then they're going to have to, because it's a bone-breaking battle. If Israel wants to end them and the establishment, although mind you, they didn't really specify a lot of targets this time. They didn't put their objectives too high because it's really humiliating. Didn't Trump say he already annihilated the Iranian nuclear in June 2025? Well, why did you go back and attack it now if it was destroyed? However, if it is up to Israel, then the United States, the Epstein regime, led by Donald Trump, blackmailed Trump, will have to go ahead with Israel and serve his masters and bow down to Netanyahu. Again, up until Netanyahu takes the lives of very many Americans who will be dying because of this, whether through an aircraft carrier sinking or any other attacks that Iran would conduct in the region. And from an Israeli perspective, that's a perfect scenario for them because they'll be far away. The Israelis will be far away. They'll be saying that, oh yeah, we're sending, the military and what have you, military fighter jets. And that's about it. We're not going to be very close. That was also another video from the initial attack on the 5th Fleet Command, if you missed it. So that was the initial hit that took place earlier this morning from Iran following the immediate attack against them. And they started with multiple locations. One of the first locations that were hit was indeed Bahrain, the 5th Fleet that already had, by the way, withdrawn their ships from the port. And there are people in Iran celebrating. I gotta tell you, the Iranian people are built different. They're trying to tell you, oh yeah, Iran, they're killing Iranian children. But the Iranians are celebrating the attacks that their country is conducting.
This is the first nonstick with no coating. The titanium.
Okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm too tired. I'll have to pick up where I left off tomorrow. So I think I'm actually going to get some sleep tonight. Then I'm going to go look for somebody else who's live and feed off of them, not their energy. I don't want their energy. Watch them from afar. Think about what a special day today was. So, if anyone came and heard any of this, thank you. If any of you came and started thinking about your position and realizing how brainwashed you are by the Zionists, then don't feel bad, because that's part of growing up, I guess, now. I never knew this before, but that's part of not being wrapped up in your cognitive dissonance anymore. At least, it's layer by layer by layer. But if you realize that being on MAGA's side, or just you don't realize you are MAGA and that you are, just know that you are brainwashed. You can't think for yourself. So better just pack it in or start thinking critically. If you thought you were thinking critically before, but you're still on Israel and America's side, not America's side, because it's a little bit harder to understand that when you're in it. We can see it from the outside of the country, but you guys have trouble seeing it inside. So, you guys, if you're that being brainwashed, you're on the wrong side of history, and you're the ones who need praying for. Anyway. Peace out, my brothers and sisters. Free Palestine. Long live Palestine.